Okay, we are still doing Unit 7 and 8 review. We are on number 7. So triangle PQR was dilated to form triangle P prime Q prime R prime. What is the relationship between the area, so that's important, of triangle PQR and triangle, P prime Q prime R prime and triangle PQR. So the first thing we're going to do is go from PQR, so this is our old, to triangle P prime Q prime R prime, so that's our new, and then we're going to flip it and go the other direction. Remember, we're talking about area here. So remember, when we talk about this, we're going to do the scale factor. So our scale factor is going to be new over old. So we're going to take P prime Q prime R prime over PQR. So I'm just going to pick a side on the prime triangle. So I'm going to pick the 0.3 over the corresponding side on the triangle that's not prime, so 1.5. If I put this in my calculator, or even if I went and I moved my decimals, I could see that this is 1 over 5. So remember, when I'm talking about area, because that's what we were really talking about, that we're still doing our PAV 1, 2, 3. So we're looking at the area. So remember, this is saying new area equals original area times scale factor squared. So here's the original area times, here's my scale factor, 1/5 squared. I'm going to put that in parentheses. Okay, then I'm going to go and I'm going to do my prime as my old and my PQR as my new. So now when I do new over old to find my scale factor, I'm going to do PQR on top and P prime Q prime R prime on bottom. So now it's going to become 1.5 over 3. I'm sorry, 0.3. And if I simplified 15 over 3, I would end up with 5. So I still go back to this new area equals original area times scale factor squared. Here's the original area. Now my scale factor is 5, so I do times 5 squared. Okay. Number 8. Parallelogram LMNO was dilated to form parallelogram QRST. Which of the following is true? So it just looks like my answer choices are proportional. So I'm looking at proportional sides. So if I look at A, it says LM over MN is proportional to RS. That's not where I started, so that can't be. I need to flip-flop these. The second one just says that this LM side is equal to QR, and 12 is not equal to 8, so that is not true. C says LM, this side right here, over QR is equal to MN, so we went back to the first quadrilateral or parallelogram, over RS. That looks pretty good. And then the last one says LM, so this side right here, over QR, that works. And then it goes RS. So we have to go back to this first parallelogram when we're putting them in order. So D does not work. So C would be my correct answer. Okay. Number 9. A rectangle is plotted on the coordinate plane below. Which image shows a 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation about the origin? So first off, I'm going to get this where we can see some answer choices. First off, when I think about this, I need to think about what my rules are for rotations. So remember, I'm starting with XY here. This is opposite of X, opposite of Y. And then these flip-flop. So YX, and this is going to have my first number opposite. So opposite of YX, and this one is going to be YX with my second number opposite. So if I'm looking at counterclockwise, I'm going this direction. This would be my 90 degrees counterclockwise. So if I'm going to rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise, it has to end up in the second quadrant, which makes C out and D out. If you think about it, if you're rotating 90 degrees counterclockwise, this side right here is going to rotate up. So really, I think the answer would be A. But if I were to look at actual points, where these points are right here, I'm looking at 0, 0, 0, 2, 6, 0, and 6, 2. And then if I followed this rule, it says that I do the opposite of y, x. So in other words, I flip my numbers and change the sign of the first. 0, 0 is not going to change because 0 is just 0. But when I do this one, I flip my numbers and change the sign of the first. So that becomes negative 2, 0. This one, I'm going to flip my numbers. I can't change the sign of 0. It's just going to stay 0. And this one, I'm going to flip my numbers and change the sign of that 2, so it becomes negative 2. If I were to go plot those numbers, I'm going to end up 0, 0 right here, negative 2, 0, so about right here, 0, 6, and negative 2, 6. So which one looks like that? And you should say A. Okay? Number 10, when a figure is dilated by a scale factor of 2/3, which of the following is true? So we know we're dilating, which makes it bigger, scale factor of 2/3. Actually, if your scale factor is less than 1, it's going to be a reduction, or we're reducing this to a smaller figure. So the corresponding angles are not congruent. Well, angles have to be congruent or the figure does not look the same. The figures are congruent. If your scale factor is 2/3, it's going to get smaller, so that's not true. The corresponding sides are congruent. If your figure got smaller, the sides can't be equal. So the corresponding angles are congruent. That has to be true for the figure to stay the same shape. So the answer would be D. Number 11. A swimming pool is being designed in the shape of a rectangle. If the dimensions are increased by a scale factor of 3, what is the resulting effect of the perimeter? So this is one of those PAV 1, 2, 3 questions. We're talking about perimeter, so if I were going to write that the way we talked about it, it says new perimeter equals original perimeter times scale factor. When I talk about how it affects it, I'm only looking at the scale factor. So if the scale factor was 3, then that makes it 3 times larger or 3 times bigger, however you want to say it. Okay, number 12. What type of transformation changes the congruence of shapes? So we talked about that earlier, that translations, reflections, and rotations keep everything congruent. But when you talk about dilations, it makes it bigger or smaller by enlarging or reducing it. So the only thing that's going to change the congruence would be a dilation. Number 13, when a figure is dilated, what scale factor can be used to make the congruent image? Well, if we want to keep it the same, then we need a scale factor equal to 1 because we want to be able to multiply by 1. This says use the following graph for the next 2 questions. So the first thing it says is list the vertices or the ordered pairs of triangle ABC and A prime, B prime, C prime after dilating by a scale factor of 1/2. So we're going to start with what points are on A, B, and C. So A should be at 8, 0. B is at 4, 4. And C is at 6, 8. That's a 4. If I have a scale factor of 1/2, that means that I took 1/2 X and then I half Y. So half of 8 would be 4. Half of 0 is still just 0. Half of 4 is 2. Half of 4 is 2. Half of 6 is 3. And half of 8 is 4. So those would be my new vertices or my new ordered pairs. Write the rule for dilating. It's what we just said. We're just going to take half of x and half of y if we're dilating by a scale factor of 1/2.